Thank you very much, Amy. Good morning, everyone. My decisions determine the direction and quality of my life. That's true. I am where I am primarily because of the decisions I've made. Now, I've made some really good decisions in life, and I have also made some very poor decisions in my life. And I'm pretty sure the same is true about you. I'm guessing that everybody in here could probably say, yeah, I'm with you on that. I've made some good ones, and I've made some bad ones. Consider your life up to this point. You are primarily where you are. Or I didn't say that right. You are where you are primarily due to the decisions that you've made. Even if your situation and where you are right now, maybe it came about because somebody else did something. Somebody else outside of your control had nothing to do with you, but they made a decision of their own and they harmed you or they put you in a place some way, they had some sort of thing that affected your life. Even if that's the case, you had a decision to make about their actions, and that decision that you made determines the direction and quality of your life from that point forward. Now, you and I, we are the masterminds of our own most regrettable decisions in life. I mean, we got it. And we made those choices, and it was all because of us. Now, what if? What if there were some questions that we could use to maybe help us make better decisions? I want to make better decisions. I want from this point on all my decisions to be good ones, not the bad ones, not the regrettable ones. But I might have a few bad ones left in me, but I hope not. But what if we had some questions to help with that? Now, of course, everybody in here, all of us watching online, we already ask ourselves questions when we're making decisions. It doesn't matter if this is a low-level decision or if it's a very major decision in your life. We all already ask some questions, and I like to call them soft questions that we ask. And there's a reason for that, but let's go with it. Every time you make a decision, you consciously or subconsciously ask yourself questions like, well, am I going to enjoy this? Will anybody find out? What if somebody finds out? And how can I justify this? And then we decide to do what we've decided to do. Now, we usually happily answer these questions because they're soft. They're not probing. They don't, you and I, we don't really like probing questions. Most of us do not. And I can prove it to you. Let me prove it to you. Who put this table out here? Who was it that did that? It's Casey, this guy right here with his hand up. Casey? Why did you open my iPad? Now, how many of you felt in just that little moment that was like, why is he picking on Casey? Casey was just trying to help him. He just opened up that. He just thought that's what he was supposed to do. Why would you? And if you felt it, it might have been really subtle, but you might have felt like, hey, Chad, why are you being rough on him? It's because you don't like probing questions. Now, Casey knew that was all set up, right? But I also kind of gave you a little bit of tone. Why'd you do that? I kind of helped you feel a little bit. How many of you, let me see, how many of you felt a little bit defensive for Casey? Anybody? Yeah, okay. That was on purpose. And that was to definitely prove, I love Casey, he didn't do anything wrong. Thank you, Casey, for opening up my iPad. But most of us resist probing questions. And we just proved it. And that question wasn't even to you. But you had a little bit of defense about it. In the moment when we get a probing question asked to us, it often feels like we're being questioned instead of being asked a question. Do y'all feel the difference? Like, you can ask me a question, but don't question me. We feel that way. Most of us feel that way. when it happens, when somebody does begin to ask us a question that kind of goes deep and questions you, you feel like you're being personally attacked. Often you feel that way. And here's what happens. Your defenses go up. Your defenses, like immediately, and they shut down. You get almost in that like fight or flight mode, and it cuts everything else out. And you, in those moments when your defenses are up, your desire, your willingness to learn, your willingness to gain insight, your willingness to even hear what God might be saying to you go down. Your defenses go up. Your willingness to receive goes down because you're defensive. Well, and we all do this. I've done this plenty of times. You've done this plenty of times. And if you're arguing with me in your head right now, I promise you, you've done this. You have done this plenty of times. Ask the people that know you well and who will tell you the truth. Now, to help diffuse this default that we have as human beings, again, it's just an immediate, I don't like being questioned. Let's look at a scripture in the Bible that we're going to be using in this entire series. And it's where we're going to launch from this morning. It comes from King Solomon. Solomon was, other than Jesus, he was the wisest man to ever walk on the face of the earth. And it's all because his wisdom came from God. And you can read his story in 2 Chronicles of the Bible and find out more about that. But here is one of the things that Solomon wrote, and we have it in our Bibles today. It's in Proverbs 27. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. So what does prudent mean? Like, what is a prudent person? What it means is to be crafty, to be shrewd, to be sensible. That's a prudent person. It's somebody paying attention. And do you know what a prudent person does? They ask probing questions. That's what a probing person does that too. But a prudent person asks probing questions. And the reason is because they're looking ahead, trying to see the big picture so they can foresee danger and then take the appropriate actions. Now, there's a little more to that scripture. A prudent or wise person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. I have been the simpleton plenty of times. I've gone blindly on and suffered consequences for my decisions. A simpleton, they will ask soft questions sometimes. And then sometimes they don't ask any questions at all in the face of a decision. They're just like, what feels the best? Let me do that. Or even worse, when they do have some sort of inkling that, hey, I'm at a crossroad and this is a big decision and I think there might be something off about going this way, what they do is they just close their eyes and trek on through. I'm just going to close my eyes and let's just see what happens. Well, they pay for it. They suffer the consequences for it. Have you ever done that? Have you ever known that there's probably some danger ahead, but you're just like, I'm going to go on anyway. We'll deal with it when we get there. And then you get there, and you have to deal with it. What happens is you end up with regrets. The simpleton, the person that foresees danger, or they see what's happening, and then they just close their eyes to it, or they don't ask probing questions. They're not really concerned with what's going on. They just plow ahead. They end up with regrets. I don't like regrets. How many of you in here just love the fact that you have some regrets? You look forward to sharing your regrets. No. We would rather them not be there. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. I don't want you or me to have any more regrets. We all have them. And we can get past them and we can move on with life, but we all still have things. I wish I would have never gone that way. My life, it would have been different. That was a bad decision that I made. That's a regret. I want us to make better decisions, godly decisions that lead to healthy direction and a good quality of life. Now, what I think is the right decisions lead, let me back that up. The right questions lead to better decisions. Now, the questions we're going to ask in this series, I want to warn you ahead of time. They're probing questions. See, I kind of set you up a little bit, got you a little defensive about Casey, so now maybe you'll be able to take a breath when you get a little defensive about yourself. It's not because I'm going to ask you anything, but hopefully it's because you're going to ask you something. Oh, by the way, we don't like probing questions from our own selves. We'll get to that. These questions that we're going to ask in this series, they're very strong, they're probing, and they're derived from biblical principles. Here's where we get the first one, Galatians chapter 3. But each one must carefully scrutinize his own work, examining his actions, attitudes, and behavior. And then he can have the personal satisfaction and inner joy of doing something commendable without comparing himself to another. It's a mouthful. It's written in the context of somebody being prideful and comparing themselves to others, thinking they're better than other people. That's kind of the context of this scripture. The principle that I want us to see out of it is you need to examine yourself. Examining his actions, attitudes, and behavior. Each one must carefully do this. That leads us to, and that's where we get this first question from. We're going to call it the integrity question. Am I being honest with myself? Most of us probably don't like to ask ourselves that probing question. I'm not asking you today, are you being honest with yourself? I want you to ask yourself, am I being honest with myself? You'll only start making better decisions about where you're going when you acknowledge where you actually are. This is 100% true. You have to tell yourself the uncomfortable truth about why you choose to do what you do. So, when you're at a decision-making point, ask this question. This is question number one. Am I being honest with myself? Let's pretend. Let's just practice for a minute. Can I get y'all to ask that question? Just go ahead, out loud, ask you, am I being honest with myself? Okay, we'll do it again here in a minute. Here's a wrench that gets thrown into this whole system because we easily lie to ourselves in answering that question. Have you ever done that? Maybe. So usually we should ask ourselves this question 2, 3, maybe 4 times before we actually get to the real answer. Hey, I'm going to do this. Am I being honest with myself? Of course I'm being honest with myself. That's probably our answer initially, but then ask it again. Am I being honest with myself? Yeah, I think so. Am I really being honest with myself about why I'm wanting to go this way? I don't know. Your answer usually changes as you get closer to the real. You get closer and closer to the reality of the situation. Am I being honest with myself? Of course I am. You can change it a little bit if you want, of course. Am I really being honest with myself? Or am I just imagining and hoping that what I'm telling myself is true? Here's a few more ways to frame that. Am I being honest with myself? Why am I leaning this way? You're at a decision-making point in life. Why am I leaning towards this? Why am I doing this? Really, why am I doing that? Why am I avoiding him? Why am I avoiding her? Why am I postponing this? Why am I in such a hurry? Why do I keep making excuses? Really? Why do I do that? Most of us don't go through this list of these things and ask ourselves these questions because we don't want to. Because we are defensive, and we get defensive with ourselves, and we offend ourselves, so we don't ask the question. Why did I say yes? Why did I say no? Really? Why did I say that? Why did I move in? Why did I move out? Why won't I get help? That list goes on and on. Am I being honest with myself? Solomon, one of the wisest guys ever, says, hey, you need to examine yourself. What's the reality of the situation? He's giving us wisdom to live by. And we're pulling it into this series and into these questions. So let me try to help you. If you are still in the days from the artillery shell going off too close to your head yesterday because you lit it too close on fireworks and you're ringing, go with this. Think of your most recent poor purchasing decision. Your most recent poor purchasing decision. You got it? You're like, I don't make any. Yes, you do. Yeah. We've all made poor purchasing decisions. What your latest one? Once you had your heart set on whatever it was, you're going to buy this. And your heart was set on it. And this is what I want. I'm deciding I'm going to buy this. Then it was like something took over. And it grabbed hold of you, and the next thing you knew, you're handing your credit card, or you're typing in your bank account numbers, or you're clicking buy it now, or you're signing this contract, and you don't even know what happened, and you did it for something that you shouldn't or couldn't afford. That's a bad purchasing decision. Why? Why did you make that bad purchasing decision? Because you weren't being honest with yourself. Not really. You weren't foreseeing danger and taking precautions. You were just closing your eyes and like, I don't care, I want it anyway. That's a lot of times how it goes. I just want it. I'll just deal with the consequences later. Consequences come. Now, how many of you have ever made a bad purchasing decision? I know I already said all of you, but all right. The 8 of us in this room, listen to this. There is a reason that we do this. There's a reason why we are not honest with ourselves, and we're kind of set up. There's this guy that nobody in here has ever met. You might not have ever heard his name before. His name is Francis Bacon. Yes, Bacon. He was an early 1600s philosopher. He made a very astute observation of the human condition. I'm going to read you what he said. It's a little bit long, but just lock in with me here for this short little period of time. Once a man's understanding has settled on something, either because it's an accepted belief or because it pleases him, he wants it, it draws everything else to support and agree with it. And if your mind, your wanter, if it encounters a larger number of more powerful countervailing examples, it either fails to notice them on purpose, blindly, closing their eyes, or disregards them, or makes fine distinctions to dismiss and reject them, and all this with much dangerous prejudice to preserve the authority of its first conception. That's a lot of words. Simply put, people often foolishly justify things we go forward with and defend bad decisions, even in the face of reasonable information and opposition, all because our heart was set on that decision. Does that all make sense? I don't care what anybody says, I'm doing it. I don't care what the numbers say, I'm going to buy this anyway. I don't care how many people tell me, you shouldn't go out with this guy, you shouldn't go out with this gal, I know her, this is not good for you, I'm doing it anyway. Confirmation bias. Your heart's already decided. You've already determined. You've made the decision. You're not being honest with yourself that it's going to lead to bad things. And you may say, I got it, I know. I know it's going to lead to something bad. I know it's not going to take me in the right direction, but I can handle it. You're still not being honest with yourself that the fact of the matter is you probably can't handle it. You just don't want to make a different decision. Now, that's all of us. We do that. I'm not saying you are horrible people. You make bad decisions. No, that's what humanity does. What we're trying to do is give us some tools so that we don't do that anymore. Am I being honest with myself? There's another guy in the Bible. His name is Jeremiah. And Jeremiah wrote the book of Jeremiah in the Bible, if you want to read that. And here's what he did. He served as a life coach, an advisor to a series of Judean kings. So he went from king to king to king to king, and he was an advisor. And so he watched this one in particular situation play out. It started all with King Josiah. And so King Josiah he was a really good guy. He was a good king. He was young, but he loved God, and he went the way he should go. He made good quality decisions. And then when his reign was over, he had a son, and his son's name was Jehoiakim. We're going to call him Jay. So King Jay, Josiah's son, he did not make good decisions. He didn't ask if he was being honest. He did not listen to our series of messages. He made poor decisions. He wouldn't listen to God. He wouldn't listen to Jeremiah. And what ends up happening to him is there's another. Well, I know we don't live in that. We live in the U.S. Thankfully, we don't deal with, oh my gosh, the king of Oklahoma is going to attack the king of Texas. It doesn't work like that here. But over there it does, or it did. And so then King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon attacked and overthrew King Jay. And he's like, all right, you're out. But he put somebody else in his place and said, look, I'm the king over everybody, but you can still be the king over this. And so what he did was he took King Jay and he got his son. So we're going to just J2. It's another Jehoiachin name. And so he took over. And so we got Josiah, good decisions. Then J1, bad decisions. J2, here he comes, bad decisions also. He just made horrible, awful choices, wouldn't listen, didn't go the right direction. And 3 months, I think it was 3 months later, King Nebuchadnezzar said, I don't like you, you're out. So he kicks him out, and he puts in another king who happens to be the King Jay's uncle. All right, his name was Zedekiah. We're just going to say Uncle Zed. Now, Uncle Zed, older, he has watched this play out. He knew that Josiah was a good king, and then he watched these next two make horrible choices. He saw them get defeated by Nebuchadnezzar. You would think that old Zed would be, maybe I should ask myself some quality questions here. Are we being honest with ourselves about where we're going as a country, as a nation? Should I make some better decisions? But guess what? He didn't do it. Same bad decisions, and things ended up being really bad for him. Just a side note, I guess. King Zed, he ended up having to run for his life. He got captured, and they forced him to watch his family get slaughtered, and then they burned his eyes out of his head and threw him in prison. Jeremiah, the guy that's telling us these stories that we read in the book of Jeremiah, he watched all this happen. And he said something. He watched the tragedy play out. And he explains why these kings and why we, me and you, why we're prone toward this level of self-deception, that confirmation bias stuff. He says this: the heart is deceitful above all things. Once your heart gets wrapped around something, the heart sends a message to your brain. And it says, I want this. Now your brain is a little bit smarter. And your brain is like, we have a want here. But I'm not sure if I can sell that. So I'm going to make it a need. So you need this. And once it becomes a need, your brain now can justify a need. And your brain starts to justify whatever it is you actually just want. Because you didn't ask, when I say you, we didn't ask the question, am I being honest with myself? That was out the window a long time ago. I want this. No, I need this. And so the brain upgrades the messaging to something far more sophisticated than a want. You need it. And once you're convinced you need something, it is easy to sell yourself on it. Have you ever sold yourself on something that you didn't need? Yeah, we do that. And before long, we have a list of reasons why we should buy this thing, drink this thing, stay, leave, lie, ask this thing out or invite it in, whatever it is. We've got it. We got this list of reasons. And they're not real reasons. They're just justifications for what we want. Because we didn't ask ourselves the question. We're not being prudent. We're not being wise and looking forward to look for danger. They're not the truth. They're not honest. So King Solomon was like, hey, let's be honest with yourself. This is something from a super wise guy. And then Jeremiah, he watches this happen, and he's like, hey, listen, folks, your heart, you got to be honest with yourself because your heart is deceitful. Now, there's a little more to what Jeremiah wrote. The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it? Now, if you follow this out in the book of Jeremiah and keep reading, you're going to find that Jeremiah is going to say God. God's the one that can understand it, and God is our hope. You and I, without God, are actually doomed to make some horrible decisions in life. Even with God in our lives, many of us have made horrible decisions in our lives. Now, to all the Christians in here, everybody that's following Jesus, because, by the way, if you're here today and you're not following Jesus, or maybe this is your first time here, or you're not even sure about all this church stuff, thank you so much for coming today. Thank you for being. I'm so glad that you came, so glad that you tuned in. Let me step on a Christian toe for a second. Y'all just watch and laugh. All right, here we go. To all the Christians in here, we're thinking, well, I have a new heart because of Jesus. Yes, thankfully we do. But we're still capable of going back and lying to ourselves. You still have that capability. And one thing that makes that really happen a lot is we have an enemy that tries to entice us with lies every single day. It's not just our, I want this new whatever. It's also somebody else that hates you saying, hey, yeah, you need to have that. You should get that. And they don't like you, they don't love you, but if you get this, people will, love you more, whatever. So we face it every single day. God, am I being honest with myself? Am I being honest with myself about what I'm deciding today? About that choice I'm, trying to figure out how to make? Thankfully, God does understand. He does understand the heart. He can help. He is our hope. And help has been written down for us in the Bible, and we've already read it, but we're going to read it again. Proverbs chapter 27. A prudent person foresees danger and takes precautions. The simpleton goes blindly on and suffers the consequences. So, what do we do about this? If it's true that my decisions determine the direction and quality of my life, and if it's true that I very easily lie to myself and convince myself that I actually need things that I only want and I don't actually need them, and if it's true that I can easily blindly just go forward and suffer consequences without ever determining or ever trying to figure out what I'm actually, where I'm actually headed, if all of those things are true, what do I do? Ask yourself some probing questions. This first one is huge. When there's a decision to be made, or as soon as you start selling yourself on anything, you should hit pause. Oh, by the way, sometimes the things you want that is the right decision. So sometimes you do actually get the things you want when you make the right choices. It's just sometimes the things we want aren't really what we want. We just don't know it. When you're coming to this decision point, look at the person in the mirror. Look at yourself in the eye. And ask, am I really being honest with myself? When you are honest with yourself, your decisions improve. Do you want to make better decisions starting in July? Ask yourself probing questions. Be honest with yourself, and you will make better decisions that will take you in a better direction and a better quality of life for you and the people who you love. There is hope. There's hope for me, and there's hope for you. So I want to help you with some examples of how to apply this integrity question to your situation. Now, maybe none of these are going to intersect with your current situation. I got it. But maybe some will. So here's just a few. I just made these up. I'm wanting to be honest with myself. Why am I taking that job? Really? God, why is it that I've decided I want to go for this one? God, see, the truth is you're asking yourself and God at the same time. Am I being honest with myself? God, am I being honest with myself? You're asking two questions with one sentence. What's the real reason that I'm quitting? God, what's the real reason here? Can I want to stop a second. Take a deep breath, and God, am I really being honest with myself about why I don't call my kids? Or why I won't talk to my mom? Or why I haven't seen my dad in years? Or why do I really just avoid my brother and sister? God, can you help me? And initially, the answer is, well, because they did X, Y, and Z. A lot of times our brains work that way, but we have to go past that. God, what's the real reason? Because they made decisions and they did things, but I have a decision to make about their actions. So my decisions determine the direction and quality of my life, not whatever they've done. God, am I being honest with myself? Why do I shut everybody out? Why am I obsessed with this or that or him or her? God, why did I act that way? Why? God, am I being honest? Now, it might sound silly, but I promise you this. Your life will be better if you ask yourself this. It's actually a very brutal question because we don't like probing questions. We have to get past our defenses that are going to go up even when we ask this of ourselves. The integrity question often feels brutal because it points out to us that we have been lying to ourselves all this time. And it's not that you were trying to hurt yourself. Like, that's not the deal. It's that confirmation bias that our brain kicked in and said, oh, let me help you out here to get what you want. The integrity question. God, am I being honest with myself? It helps you make better decisions. It'll help us improve the direction and quality of our life and the lives of people around us. So I want you to, if you will, maybe you've had some arguments with me, again, in your mind about this. Okay, just stop those for a second, and if we throw out everything else, how about this? How much better would your life be? How much better would your decisions be if you applied this one question? Think about it with me just for a second. Just be reasonable. I'm about to decide this, on this thing happening, on where I'm headed. How much better would your life be if you stopped and said, okay, God, am I being honest with myself about this situation? Do you think it would make your life worse? I don't think so. I think it would make your life better. What if when you're going to, we probably, many of us done it so much, you go buy a car, buy a truck. All right, God, am I being honest with myself about this vehicle? Am I being honest with myself about how much I actually need this? Am I being honest with myself about where my finances are for this? God, I have this relationship thing and I'm trying to decide this. Am I being honest with myself about it? Now, let's go a little further than me just giving you some theoreticals. I want you to think right here. What is something that you're at a decision point in life right now? Think of a decision point that you're at. Like we all have one. Do you have it? If it were me, I might be a little defensive about now because I know what's about to happen. Take a deep breath and relax. I want to pray for you, and then we're going to ask God. God, I thank you for everybody in here. I thank you for everybody watching online. Lord, all of us want to make better decisions. We want a good quality direction. We want good direction and a good quality of life. We want to make the right choices. Lord, we're going to apply this question right here on Sunday morning inside a church. Lord, will you just walk into the room with us? Will you wrap your arms around us and give us some comfort as we ask? God, will you shut down all the other voices that might try to lead us astray? So everybody in here, everybody watching, think of that decision point you're at and ask God the question. God, am I being honest with myself about this? See, just that question changes the game. Whatever God's saying to you, keep listening. I've got one more question for us. You see, y'all can do this here and now. You can do it every day, at home and where you're at, wherever you're going. God, I want to ask this question. For those of you that said, I can't really think of anything important. I can't really think of a decision that I'm, nothing to that, should I go eat here or there? That may not be a question you have to ask yourself if you're being honest about. Maybe it is. That's all you've come up with. Let me help you. God, is there something that I haven't been honest with myself about? And see what he says. We could try it. That one might even be a little harder because we have no control over it, right? God, is there something I haven't been honest about? Will you show it to me? And as he speaks to your heart, God, I want to make the right decisions here. I want to make better decisions here. Help me be honest with myself. It's very interesting when a group of people, one person, but especially when it's a group of people, take a moment and just specifically ask God a question. It's because all together we're inviting God into the room, into our space. And I think he honors that and shows up. And he has answers for our questions. You can kind of feel the room change sometimes. Like, I feel different. I feel like maybe even a little more somber or a little more peaceful. When you're saying, I'm a little tense, I'm going to want to ask if I'm being honest with myself because I don't really want to know, but God, am I being honest? And when he shows up, he brings peace with him. And he wants to help me and you with our decisions. And you can do this at home, and you can do this on the job. You can do this anywhere. God, am I being honest with myself? Help examine me here. Help me make better decisions. So, this week, really consider if you stopped and did this at every major decision, or at the beginning when you feel it happening, hey, there's a decision coming. I want to go into this being honest right off the bat. How much better would your decisions be? And this is only one question that can help. There's a few more we're going to look at over the coming weeks. So practice this. Between now and next Sunday, practice asking a really good question, the integrity question. God, am I being honest with myself? And see if it doesn't help you make even better decisions this very week.